All right, so good morning once again, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Digitech Zeal, a platform where you can acquire quality tech skills from expert-led training. So this morning we are looking at looking at introduction to JavaScript. Introduction to JavaScript. Yeah, we assume we have ended the journey of HTML, where we learned how to publish content across web pages. We have also come to an end on CSS, which is also another programming or web programming language used for decorating or defining the presentation of our web contents. Now, we started the journey of the front end long before now. It told us that a website has two ends, of which the very first end is known as the user end. That is an end of a website that gives users access to be able to view content you have published for them to see. And then the back end is the administrative section of a website, which is not accessed directly by users until they have certain privileges. Now, we also talk about different languages that are available or that a front-end developer should learn for him or her to be able to develop or design the front end. We mentioned HTML for developing the content, and also defining the structure of the entire website. We also talk about CSS, which is a cascade style sheets for styling the front end content. Now we talk about another core programming language, which is most used for developing the front end, which is called the JavaScript, which happen to be the language we are introducing in this section. Now, why do we need JavaScript? We need JavaScript to help us make our front end content interactive. Make our front end content interactive. So what do we mean by interactivity of a website which we want to implement with the JavaScripts? Interactivity of a website is your website being able to interact. In other words, to be lively. Your website to have certain functionality that makes it look more real, that makes it look more users friendly. So that is why we need JavaScript to help us optimize our content to be interactive. Now, you must have come across different websites. JavaScript is an action language which we use in adding some effects to those contents you have developed and styled with HTML and CSS respectively. Now, almost every website out there today have a touch of JavaScript. There's no website you open out there that will not have at least 30% of the presence of JavaScript. When we were developing websites without JavaScript, our websites were more of static websites. What does that mean? It means website that things does not interact. there is no communication between one element and the other. So, but today we have attractive websites where you see different animation, where you see some communications. For example, today you can visit websites like Jumia website and other e-commerce websites where you can actually buy things, where you can quote an entire product without calling or speaking to anyone. So inside the website, someone have already used language like JavaScript to create an application that can quote the products to the visitors for them to purchase without having to come to your physical shop or without even having to reach out to you to ask how much is the price and how they can make their payment. All these things can be handled in a web page or in a website with the help of the JavaScript. So in summary, JavaScript is a scripting language which is used for implementing or for creating interactive application. So like I told us in the time past that a web developer is a programmer. A web developer develops apps. But the type of apps you develop, they are apps that can be hosted on the server and run in a website. You are not developing stand-alone applications like mobile phone, like all these mobile phone app, like OPay, MoneyPoint. These are stand-alone apps. These are not apps that must be hosted. But the website, our website applications must be hosted, which means that before people can access the content across the globe, you have to upload your local design into a purchase space within a server that will give people access to your website content. So I've already paraphrased. I have highlighted the necessity of JavaScript. So let's quickly talk about, let's define it in the right context. So I only wanted to give us an overview of what a JavaScript is and why a front-end developer should learn JavaScript and the relationship between JavaScript and other web designing languages. So for us to define it in a proper context, JavaScript is a high-level, dynamic, and interpreted programming language used for both client-side and server-side. Now, there are two keywords I need to simplify here. Like when I started this class, I mentioned the front end and the back end. So I did that explanation so that you know where exactly you can apply JavaScript. Now, from my definition here, I have mentioned the front end and the back end. How did I mention the front end? I said the client side. The client side. Client in this context refers to the visitor, people who visit your website. That the JavaScript is used to develop that aspect of the website that they can visit, they can have access to without seeking your privileges, without logging in with password. Now, when we say server side, we are talking about the back end. These are terms that are used in web development. So expect someone to use these terms on you during an interview. Somebody can just ask you, instead of using the word, how many front-end languages do you know? The person can decide to say, how many client-side languages do you know? The person can as well decide to say, how many server-side languages do you know? Instead of asking you, how many back-end languages do you know? So let's understand those key terms. So let me just run through together. So JavaScript is a high-level dynamic and interpreted programming language used for both client and server side development. Is that clear? Can somebody unmute and respond? Let me know if my voice is clear enough and if you are following before I proceed.
So
Yes, sir.
that stuff you said now.
Sorry, come again.
Please repeat what you said. I didn't capture it well.
Okay, so I was actually explaining, I was concluding on the definition of JavaScript, where I said JavaScript is a high-level dynamic and interpreted programming language used for both client side and server side. And where I explained the difference between the term client side and server side. I said in this field of web development, the word client side represents the front end. That somebody only needs the URL of your website before they can access, not with password. Now, the server side is the back end of your website, and users does not have access to it until they have the login details. Is that clear, ma?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. Now let's quickly look at the key features of JavaScript. The key features of JavaScript. So what I'm going to be doing is that I will just create a page and use it to be explaining some of the key things in write-up for us to get our definitions and spelling right. So let's say js.html. js.html just to have a blank file, and then I'll be using comments. So what we want to talk about now is the key features. The key features. The key features. The key features. Let me make it a complete comment. The key features of JS. So anytime I use the word JS, I am also referring to JavaScript. That is the abbreviation. Now, when we talk about features, can anybody tell us what features mean in English language? You can unmute and tell us what you understand by the word feature.
It's just like terms.
Just like what?
Terms. Terms often used.
Okay, let me also hear from Mrs. Constance. Mrs. Constance, are you here?
Feature refers to districts. Maybe
That what?
characteristics, attribute, and functionality of something.
Okay, yes, what makes up something, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you are very correct. Now, can we say that features also mean characteristics? Can we say that features also mean characteristics?
I get you, son.
Can we say
Hello?
that? Can we say that the term features or feature means characteristics? When you say
And a feature can be used to describe various aspects of products. maybe services or things. It can be
Okay.
part of it.
Okay, so please let's know that the word feature also means characteristics. For example, the character of a person or the attribute of a person, it depends on what the person is made up of, like you rightly said before. Okay, so let's quickly discuss these features. So the feature number one is clients, client side, what JavaScript is made of, scripting. Feature number one, feature number one is client side. So let me just explain briefly. You might be writing. When we say client side scripting, what does that mean? As one of the features of JavaScript. JavaScript runs on the client side, allowing for dynamic web page interaction. I repeat, JavaScript runs on the client side, allowing for dynamic web page interaction. One of its features is that it runs on the client side, because that is our focus for learning JavaScript in this program. But we are going to deploy our back end with another scripting language like PHP. We are not going to use Node.js. Node.js is a server for implementing JavaScript, also the server side. But we are learning it just for implementing it on the client side. Okay, so I have explained the meaning of the dynamic web pages. That is what I was actually talking about the other time. When we say a website is dynamic, it simply means that when you log into a website, by default, there are some content you will see that the developer must have programmed. Now, after some seconds, if those things does not change their action, if they remain all true, it means that the website is not dynamic. And that is why you will log into some website. At some point, you will see a particular text, and then after some seconds, either the color of that text change or another write-up entirely. It could be an image, replace the first one. So this is what we mean by dynamic. That is, thing changes per second, per minute, or per hour. So that is what dynamic. So that is one of the key things you can implement in your website using JavaScript. So a typical example are the image slider. Some of us, I believe, we must have visited website. Once you get in there, you will see one picture, and then before you close your eyes and open it, another image will have slide in. Before you close that eyes again and open it, another image will have slide in. So you ask yourself, what is pushing those images to move? It could be ads. Some of us, when you log into a website, you will just see an ad that will just pop up like this and go back. You no longer find it again. You just come after some time, the ad comes up again and they go back. So all these things that are popping up, they are actions that we have programmed with JavaScript. There are a whole lot of them. Another one is that you can click on a button, and then the button will open up a form for you to fill. Just like you enter a website and they say, click on this button to register. And you click on the button, then the form opens up. After filling the form, you click on submit and the form disappears again until you click on the button again. Or you enter a website, you click on the button, a particular sound is generated. It could be an advert. So once you click on that button, someone will start telling you about something. All these are actions that can only be achieved with JavaScript. That is why if you learn web development and stop at HTML and CSS, you are just half done a developer. You have not started because your website will not be dynamic and it will not be interactive. So I believe that is clear. Now, let's look at the second feature of JavaScript. What makes it unique? What are the things we know it for? Dynamic typing. So all these, I'm going to break them down. Dynamic typing language. Dynamic typing language. So what does this particular term mean in website development? So it means that JavaScript is a dynamically typed language command, making it flexible, but requiring attention to data types. Let me repeat it because I understand some of us are writing and you should be noting them. I said, what makes JavaScript a dynamic type language is JavaScript is dynamically typed command, making it flexible, but requiring attention to data types. Now, in the next class, I'll be discussing on what are data types. You cannot actually learn any programming language without understanding the concept of data types. Data types, they are like different kinds of information that you need to program with that language. Just like the way we are learning JavaScript now, we need certain data to be able to speak it. Let me break it down. You are an Igbo woman and you want to speak Igbo. There are words you use to communicate Igbo language. So until you understand those words, you will not be able to communicate Igbo language effectively. That is what we mean by data type in programming. And that is why, let me say it here, so that you don't come here with the mindset of the way HTML was very simple. I'm not saying this to scare you, but I'm saying this for you to be ready more, to put more efforts. Because if you are not aware of this, you can be caught unaware. What do I mean? If you were learning HTML, you were practicing 5 times in a week. As you are learning JavaScript, you have to practice 10 times in a week, which means that it's a core programming language. HTML wasn't a core programming language, and it's not a core programming language. That is why it was described as markup language, a language that just helped assist website to define its structure. CSS was not also a core programming language. CSS is also there to render its own head, the head of determining how those contents are placed, how they are presented, how they are decorated. They are just like assisting languages. But when we talk about the core technology that is running the front end, talk about JavaScript. JavaScript is a language. And you will agree with me that if you want to learn Isoko, which is my language, I can tell you, you will bite your tongue several times before you finally get it. But there are some persons that want to start learning that Isoko. And the first time they have issue pronouncing Edejoro, which is my native name, they can just give up that this language is too hard. I'm just using this to give you what normally happens to a lot of developers. You see them, their enthusiasm very high when they are in HTML and CSS. Once they get to JavaScript, which happen to be a core language, you start seeing them dropping. Why? Because they are already used to the simplicity of HTML and CSS. So they don't want anything that will drill them. They don't want anything that will stretch them. And that is why I'm giving this information. So you should not take this program casually. This is not the program that you attend today or Wednesday you are not there. then you come on Monday thinking that you can cope, you might end up deceiving yourself. And at a point, you will run away. That is just it. Because it can get to a point where it will choke you. So everything you are learning here, as soon as I finish the topic, go and digest it. Go and initialize it. Don't wait like when we are learning HTML. Some of us, we compile HTML classes 3 good times. Then we're able to go there, watch the video again, and be able to cope. If you try that in JavaScript, I can assure you, you'll be totally lost. You will not even want to continue with the program. That is just an advice for you. Now, let's come back to the main reason why it is called dynamically typed. Now, there are some old and some languages like C++. When you want to create variable, which is what we are going to talk about shortly. When you want to create variable, which means creating subcontainers within the program memory to hold certain value that will be required for your programming, that you feel that they did not come with the program, so you want to introduce them. So for example, I think a practical example, I have not started talking about variable, but I think I need to create a JavaScript file so that you can be seeing the impact of some of these things and for it to be easy for you to understand. So for me to create a JavaScript file, what I am going to do, let me build it in my HTML file, or okay, let me just create, let's say what, js1.html. So I will use internal JavaScript for now until when we get to that aspect, I will explain different ways you can actually create your JavaScript file. Now, before you can write JavaScripts, you have to internally, that's what, writing JavaScript in HTML file, you have to open a tag called scripts, just like this. Then you expand it. So all your JavaScript code will be wrapped here, while your HTML code will be here. For example, I can have H2 here. Welcome to Digitech Zeal of training. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, I want to create a variable so that I can explain that concept of JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. So variables are used to capture external data into the program library so that you can access them whenever they are needed, where you can always call values from when you need them. For example, now I want to write a simple application because I told you that JavaScript is for developing web applications, dynamic web applications. I want to build an application like a calculator that can sum up two values for me. Let's say value 50, add it up with value 60. So I need to ask myself, is 60 already in JavaScript library? The answer is no. Is 50 already in JavaScript memory? The answer is no. So the next thing I would think of as a programmer is to find a way of initializing or introduce those values that I am going to need to develop my app. So I will say variable x is equals to 50. Then I will add the semicolon like this. So this is a semicolon. Now you add this to show that you have terminated that line. When you are writing JavaScript code, you must tell the language that you have come to an end of that line. If not, it will not allow you to execute subsequent code. So putting that semicolon means I have ended that line. Go to the next line, press enter. I'll say variable B should hold 40. Now, there is one thing we need to also observe. There are keywords we use in introducing variable in JavaScript, which means that they need to be accompanied with this keyword. That is how it is in JavaScript. You cannot just start by saying S 50, B 40. You need to tell JavaScript that, okay, I am introducing variable. And how do you speak that? Because this is a language. Everything you are writing, you should know the expression. You should know the communication. What are you saying? Just like your Igbo language and Isoko language. Whatever you are saying, there is a motive to it. So you cannot just come and tell JavaScript S50. So how will you know that those things, the S and B, they are variable? You use certain keyword. So in JavaScript, we have the following keywords that can be used to accompany or initialize variable. We have var, that is VAR, which means variable. Variable means a value that is bound to change. That is why we use var. So you can say what? var, you can use something like this. So var A, B. You can say var, comma A, comma B, and then I end it. So what I have just said to JavaScript is that I have created two variables. See variable as container you are creating to hold values within the program cache, which is the memory of the program, where you can always invoke their values from. So see variable as that. Now, when you said var A, comma B, you just pick like two different containers, just like you went to the market and buy one gallon, another gallon. They are empty. Now, when you said X, sorry, let here be S in order to blend with what we have here. So when you started saying X equals to 50, that means you now pick that empty gallon, the first one, and then put 50 inside it. You now pick the second empty gallon, which is B, and then put what? 40 inside it. But what you did here is just to tell JavaScript that I'm introducing two containers, where the first one we hold 50 and the second one we hold 40. So I'll pause here and ask if there's any question. All is well understood before I proceed. Need a response. I could not hear you, Ma. Who is answering me?
Understood, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so because I'm trying to work time, at the same time, I want to make sure that our class is interactive. I want to be getting feedback from you guys here. Now, in JavaScript, if you right-click now and go to your front end, just like the way we were doing it in HTML, you are not going to see any results. So which means that you need a method or functions or a function to be able to output whatever code you write in JavaScript, which is very important. So if you come to the front end here, I want us to see the front end first. You see that what? No value is displayed. The only value that is displayed, they are the values you created with HTML tag. The 40 and the 50, which we store in a variable, are not here because in JavaScript, you don't display value until you use certain methods to display them, which we are going to see now. And now I am going back. I'm using this to explain the second features that says dynamically type. I'm coming back to it. I will use this to show you why it is called dynamically type programming language. Now, for me to output this, I need to perform a calculation. Or if I want to output the value stored in S, I will simply use one of the methods. I can just say what? Alert. So this alert you have been using for money transaction is a computer term. Alert, you receive alert. So what has been happening is that the bank has built an app that once a transaction is completed, then a message will be sent to you. That is what you know as alert, that notifies you that the transaction has just been completed. So now I want to alert 50, which means that I want to show the users, because this is my development environment. I want to show the user the value in S. So I will use alert as a function in JavaScript for outputting your value, your result. So once you call alert, inside the bracket of that alert, you are to supply your input. What is the alert function going to output? You are not supplying 50 because you want to see 50. You supply the name of the variable that is holding the 50. So you put S there. And then if I go back to the front end now, let's run it again. We should be able to see what 50. Can you see that? Alert will pop it up like a pop-up message that this server, this is the server IP address. This server says 50. Now, until I click OK before it will proceed with the HTML. Now, that alert displays it in a box, alert box, but not in the website page body. So if I want the 50 to be written here, not to come up as a message, then I will have to use another method. So I will just temporarily comment this one out and use the one that can display the value of my article in the body of the website. So I will use document dot write. These are different methods which we are still going to expatiate on in our subsequent class. Now, I will pass that same S. So if I run this now, I should be able to see the 50 printed on the page instead of coming up as a message. Is that well understood? Let me get a feedback from Flourish just to know whether she's still here or she have slept off.
I'm still getting stuck.
Yes, you guys are playing me, so I'm smarter than you guys now. Let's go. Yeah, okay, so Madam Constant, are you still here? Did you understand the process, what I just did now?
Not really. I didn't get the last part.
Okay, which of the last parts? That is where I use another method, right? Where I use this one. Yeah, so this is another function. Like I said, that is not what I am actually focusing on right now, but I'm just bringing this practical so that you can understand the second feature I was explaining, which is JavaScript is a dynamically typed language. I'm coming to where I will explain it. But for the meantime, what I'm saying is that if I comment this out, I will not be able to see any value. When you store values in JavaScript variable, how do you show them to the users? Because this is the development end. Now, the users that will access whatever you are programming via the browser has the front end. So whatever you are doing here, you must find a way of catapulting it to them for them to see. And we are saying that in JavaScript, for you to allow them to see anything, you must output it with a certain method or function, of which the first one I used was alert. And we noticed that alert did not display the result in the body of the browser. Instead, alert prompted a notification box that the server is saying 50. Now, for us to display it on the page or in the browser page, that is why I have to choose this method, which I am still going to explain in our next class. So I don't want to spend too much time. I just needed these two to show us how we can output our values in the browser. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Right. So now let's check something. Now, if for me, just a minute. All right. So now if I want to check what type of data is this. So I can just write something like this. I can say document dot write document dot write. Now I can say document dot write. Then inside this, I will say type of. Can you see this type of is another function? Now, what you are about to do, you want to find out what type of data is stored in S, whether it is a number or is a text, whether it is an integer or is a string, which we are going to expatiate on better in our next class. Now, if I put S here and I go back to the front end, let's check it. You see that what? It outputted that what? The type of value or data you store in that variable is a number. Now, I want to create another one, another variable, let's say C, and C is to store my name. My name is a text. Because it is a text in JavaScript, you must put it in a quotes that is both either single quote or double quotes. So now I'll type Prosper. Now I want to use the type of function in JavaScript to check what type of data is stored in variable C. So I will now remove this C and put what? The C there. Remove the S and put the C. And then go back to the front end and check now what type of value it is. Look at this, string. Now, this is where I am going. When we say JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, which means that it checks for the data type by itself without requiring constructor. Now, ordinarily, this is how you are supposed to write variable. If not, that JavaScript is a dynamically typed language that can find out the type of data stored in a variable. For you to create a number, this is what you are supposed to do. Let's say num equals to. You will now do something like this. This is the construct, int. You now open a bracket before you supply what? The value. So this is what you are supposed to be doing. So the old programming languages, whenever you want to store number or string in a variable, you have to tell them that, please, so I am storing integer. Whenever you want to store string, you will have to do something like this. Let's say name equals to, just because name is a keyword, I just want to make it different. Let's say name 1. Now, if I want to store that same my name, if not that JavaScript is a dynamically typed language that can factor out the type of data a variable is holding by itself, I will have done something like this. I'll say str, open a bracket before I will put it in the quotation. So you can see the process our forefather who started programming went through. They have to be writing for every type of data they want to store in a variable. They have to tell the program the type of data it is. But today, we have more of AI programming languages, which does so many things for themselves, like JavaScript now. It's the one that will factor out what type of data. What I need to do is just to type the 500, or type the 8 or 50, without me telling JavaScript. So it's the one that will find out whether it is an integer or it is what? String. That is why I have to show us this logic of if you want to know whether JavaScript actually or is a dynamically typed language. You saw the way it was able to detect by itself, not until you say int, not until you say str. It was able to find out by itself that this is a number, that this is what? A string. So let me also use it to check it. Let me put num inside. I'm checking this now, and then I run it also. So you can see it did not what output it. So what could be the error? So you can see that it did not output it because you have already know what you are looking for. You have already said it. But if I put S now, where I don't know what the value is, then it is expected to tell me whether it's number. So I think that is not the issue. So you have to, oh, one bracket is missing. And I know one bracket is missing. So let's try what we did the other time to be able to see it. Let's see. Okay, so when it happens like this, comment one of these out because this might be interrupting this, or okay, it's a good one. Let's debug again. So debugging is allowed in programming. It is not every time you write code and it works again. That is what makes programmer critical thinker. That is why the word is for programmer, because they know that they are problem solving, because they must have faced a lot of challenges while coding, and they will have that will have affect their memory. Now, the issue is that we did not end it, like I was telling us before. We are telling Javascript that we are still writing code here. We are still writing code here. We are still writing code here, and we want to execute. It did not work. It was waiting for us to end this line. That is why I just simply come back here and add this code. That if possible, I'm going to run another line of code. Under this, there is need for me to also consider adding it here. But if I am not going to run another code, if I am not going to run another code, then I can leave it like this without putting the next code. So let's cultivate the habit of doing the right thing all the time. Now let's do this. So you will notice, okay, so I believe it's from object something. You have to debug it out. What it's saying. So let's find out. So a lot of issues can be from your browser. So, but before you conclude, you need to ensure that you have done the right thing. Now let's see the debug. Here is that file again. File. Like I'm running a different file now. I don't know. This is file. Now, where do we have our Javascript folder? Do we have this? Okay, yeah, this is it. Okay. So now I want to find out where the error is. So let me just say alert. I want to know if it's a browser error. So your browser can malfunction at times based on how JavaScript fields are updated. So let me just confirm this, whether the problem is from the type of. Most time when you are having issue like this, you take things one after the other. So let me go back now, check. Okay, so you can see that the problem is from the browser because we confirmed this before. So, or what we are going to do now, we did some things, let's reverse them, then we delete it. All these are ways of me trying to locate where exactly error is, which you should develop yourself in doing. Whenever you are looking for error, you need to, at some point, turn off some things and run. So you can see, immediately I turn off those ones that I defined with the integer and the rest, then it comes off. So you can see that if I did not be able to find out where the error is, I will have given up. So now, but that is not the standard. That is why we say that JavaScript is a dynamically language, because you don't have to define a data type. You define a data type and it's just like you are taking it back. That is why those things were giving us issue.
Any question before we proceed? We'll close any moment from now once I have explained another key feature of JavaScript. But I just want to make sure that I establish this foundation before we proceed. Any question? Do we have question?
Sir.
I can't hear you, Flourish.
I'm saying that, so if we want to implement this now, and
I hardly hear
we are
you.
not,
Whether it's your speaker.
can you hear me now?
Wake up from sleep. Talk to us.
Hello?
This is already 6 a.m. and you are still talking as if you just started sleeping.
No, I'm asking this thing that is giving issue. If like we are solving it now, and like this X now, when you implemented it, you didn't put number and it brought it out. Can you hear me?
I can hardly hear you.
Put my earpiece whether I can hear you.
I said,
Don't know whether it's your network.
maybe it's my network.
Don't know if Miss Constant can hear you, but struggling to hear you. Let me see.
So I can hear her now.
Okay, oh yeah, talk now.
I said
Mhm.
this X, when we implemented it, you didn't put number, but the thing brought out number when you press the go live button. But when you were putting the name stuff, you were adding a name. So maybe that is why the thing was not showing before.
Which name? Which name?
When you implemented it before.
No, you can actually say num. Is it not what you're talking about? You can say num and say 90. It does not matter. Now,
and it will show.
Oh yeah, let's do it now. The problem was not from this. Let's go there now. This is num now, right? Did you see it?
Okay.
So that is not the problem. The problem was from those places where we tried to do what JavaScript has done, where we were trying to tell JavaScript that this is an integer, this is what. So there was a syntax error somewhere there. Just because I don't want to spend time to debug it, that's why I had to clear it. And I was only using that one to explain to us that there are times when you are looking for where errors are coming from. You have to off certain area. You are trying to look for where exactly the problem is. Until you know that, or until you apply such method, you might not easily detect error. At some point, I have to turn off some things. All this is just because I want to know where the error is. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let's quickly discuss one more feature and then we stop here so that we can prepare for our. So I will appeal that we bring down the time a little so that we can have more time. Let's bring it back to like 4:30 instead of 5 so that we can have an average of 1 hour, 30 minutes. What do you think? So I know some of us, we have school runs and 5 to 6 is 1 hour. So any attempt to stretch it, it might affect their activity. But if we bring it back to 4:30, at least between 4:30 to 6, we must have observed 1 hour training. So it's just a suggestion. Can we quickly respond to that before I finalize the class? Hello?
Sir.
Or what did you say?
I say,
Okay, Mrs. Constant, are you here?
Sir.
Okay, now
I'm here.
I have an alternative for this class. This class was initially a late evening. someone complained then, and the person is not even following up. The person is not here. So I'm suggesting that if we are all okay with it, those of us that are active, because I've spoken to it, that is Mr. Austin, is busy, and he said he's going to probably re-enroll for it later. So he was the one that said that is not okay with the evening time.
The evening class is even much better.
Yeah, we can actually do it 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. 8:30 p.m. to 10 or 8 to 10. We can just choose some days like that. What do you think?
Yes, it's much better, please.
Let me hear from Mrs. Constant. I wouldn't want us to be missing classes.
Which one do you say is better?
The evening now, after you are done with your work.
I know about the evening, the time frame.
You say 8 to 10 now. That is what you're saying.
We can do it. Let's do it 8:30 so that everybody will have settled down very well.
8:30 is better.
Yes, so.
8:30 and you can finish as much as you are tired.
Yes, exactly. So me too, I can return from work and refresh myself and relax for like an hour plus 2 hours before the class. So we communicate the days might change for that purpose. The days might change, but I will retain Monday, but to start from next week Monday. I will retain Monday, so we've gotten 1 day already. So I'll communicate the remaining 1 day to all before the end of today or tomorrow.
Okay. That is Monday evening now.
Okay, let's do it the way we're doing it. Monday and Wednesday. Monday and Wednesday, which means that our class this Wednesday will be 8:30 p.m., not in the morning again.
Okay. That's nice.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So if I see Flourish missing any of my class, Miss Constance, you are here. I don't like trouble. You know me. If Flourish miss any class,
let's put file, sir. Flourish. Anybody that miss class.
Yes, 1,000 naira.
Is it not too high?
I am serious. I am very serious because now I have to give you what you want. I will not want to hear any excuse, particularly Flourish. Our own is different. I know why I am saying this. When it's happened now, she should not blame me. I know Miss Constant is a very faithful student, but I'm planning of giving her an award.
I'm
She's the one that kept my spirit burning. If not, this class would have been ended since. She has been the one encouraging me. So Flourish, you used to encourage me when you started. You used to be one of my best students. Maybe because of this time switch. But now we have brought it to the time that is comfortable to you. Please, let's try and be turning up.
Okay,
Do you hear
sir.
me?
Yes, sir.
All right. So let's just discuss the last characteristics. We'll talk about client-side scripting. We'll talk about dynamic type, which I have explained enough with the practical we have done. Then the next one is first class. First class. The next feature of JavaScript is first class functions. So JavaScript has first class function. That is what the functions are classic. When we come to rating of each function, they are very powerful. That is one of its attributes. So just to put it in proper context, functions are treated as first-class citizens, enabling functional programming. That is why it is recommended for web app development. So what actually makes you a web app developer is because of the JavaScript first-class function. The functions are powerful. You saw the one I just used now, type off. Saw the way it was able to tell us without wasting time. That is the meaning of what?
the first class. So the last one is object-oriented. So this is the last one before we draw the curtain in this section. Object-oriented. Object-oriented. Now, object-oriented means JavaScript supports object-oriented programming, which is known as OOP. You must have been hearing this particular word, OOP. OOP. So that OOP means object-oriented programming. So the concept like inheritance and polymorphism. Now, what we are talking about here is those days programming before, you have to capture every part of an object. But today, the whole of this laptop can be created as one variable and store all the properties that makes up the laptop in it, such that when I want to see everything in laptop, I will just call laptop. But before, you have to create a variable and store mouse. You have to create a variable and store keyboard. You have to create a variable and store the CPU before you can have all the details. That is what we mean by what? Object-oriented. Is a language, all these new languages that we have in our days, they are all object-oriented languages. Python is an object-oriented language. JavaScript, the same thing. Java is the same thing. So that is what it reduced the volume of your programming and the program. That is why those days some apps were very slow in exploration. Why? Because each time you are trying to fetch information, the information has to be called from different locations before the app can open. But today, we are using object-oriented programming languages, whereby the whole of the properties that makes up an object can be enveloped in one container. And then once I call that container, I don't have to start looking for where those things are. And that have improved the response speed of all programming languages we have out there. So if there's no question, we stop here. When there's question, please you can ask so that we can.
So please, I have a question now.
You have question, Flourish?
Regarding the assignment you give to us.
Okay.
That navbar. The navbar is not covering my body, like the body of this thing.
Okay, so now the level you have learned this program to now, you should start applying AI to solve some of your problems or challenges. It's part of what you need to learn. Now, if you're having any issue with code that you have written, all you need to do, I'm just telling you this because in the world of technology today, manual things or manual ways of doing things are fading out. So every tech expert should have one or two AI application he or she is using to fine-tune his or her work. So for example, if I sign up with a chat bot like ChatGPT, and you are having issue, that particular code that you wrote that is not giving you the desired results, you can simply copy it and come here and say, act as a web developer. Command, help me to correct this code. Help me to correct this code. Then you quote that code, you copy it, you envelope it in quotation. So once you paste it and run it, it will search for where you have some possible errors and modify it for you automatically. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, another thing again, because now I give you a project and I want you to apply this, I can come here and say, act as a developer, help me
help me create a responsive. So this is the world we are now. If you are in tech and you are not leveraging on AI, you are lacking behind. So while we are teaching you all these things manually, because of you knowing the in total, not because you leverage on writing the whole code yourself. The responsive nav bar. So if you want other things to be there, you can say including social media handles. If you want other thing, maybe include search bar, whatever you want, just put it inside and then you run it. Now watch what ChatGPT will do. Think. So you see sharp, even with the CSS. Are you seeing what is happening here? So you can see if you are not in tech, you have, in fact, you are left behind. You can see this is what, imagine the time it will have taken you to write this code. Now the HTML aspect, what you did not do, you can say that we did not say use HTML, but it knows what to do. So now you can copy the whole of this. Flourish, I hope you are still with me. You can see that it added even JavaScript code that you will have written. So I can take the whole of this and then go to my page. So I can just create a new file just for me to implement it. I can just create a new file. So let me name it test.gr.html since I'm using HTML. Then activate my HTML file, HTML5, and then go to the body section and paste it. So one of the reasons why you are learning this is because if not that you register for this program, if ChatGPT gives you this information that we got now, you will not know what to do with them. Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
So you will not know what to do there. So because you use ChatGPT does not mean that you are not an expert. Here is even the because you use ChatGPT does not make you a learner. Because if I call somebody from the street now and do the same thing and provide this code, the person will end up not moving forward from here. So now what I will do, because you have learned CSS, you know what this is, you know the boundary of CSS code. So you can just come here and copy where your CSS code starts from style. So you can see this is the benefit of you enrolling. So when we are teaching you the program itself before leveraging on AI, because AI will give you the solution, AI will not teach you how to or assist you how to inculcate it where you want it in your design. So this is, now I can just go to, I can create a different CSS file. So I will say test.css and then go to that file and paste whatever I copy from there. And then remember, I have to do what? I have to connect them for what you have learned here so far. So I'll just come here and say what? Link. Then reference what? That particular file. So how did you know how to do all this? It's because you enrolled here. So it is wrong for someone to say, when AI is doing everything, why should I learn manual? So you can see how we're able to manipulate. Even if you want to go and change those CSS property, we can change that because we understand CSS what? Coding syntax. So now, let's check the front end of what AI has generated. You can see it. This is your navigation bar. Now, if you go back to the code it generated, you will notice that there's a place where it must have added, we mentioned that you add social media.
Look at it. You just passed it. That is social.
Where is it here?
No, up. Go up.
I should go up like this?
No. Yeah, look at your cursor is there.
Okay, good. Now you can see social media. And
Yes.
why are they not showing? Because we don't have anything display here. Here now, like Facebook. So we will not go and use a font awesome, right? We will not use font awesome to copy the what? The icon there. Because now if I go back to the front end, I should be able to see Facebook now. So they are all there. It's just for you to supply their description. It's just for you to supply their description. Hope is clear.
Are you online?
You said?
I'm asking, are you online? Why the thing is not showing?
No. You have not added the icon now. They only gave you the code structure.
Okay.
You were supposed to maybe download the Facebook image and put it, or if you are going through Fort Awesome, you are supposed to bring in the Fort Awesome HTML tag. You know, as we do it now.
Yes.
So that is why I manually type Facebook, so that you know that they are all there, only that you have not supplied their details in here. You have not supplied their description in here. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So today you can collect any website project. You don't have to write code. It's just for you to know what you need and be able to describe it to ChatGPT. And then once you get the code, you transfer it. That is the AI we are talking about that is taking over. I hope I have explained myself.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in case you have any error, I want to see you leveraging on ChatGPT to see if you can, correct it or debug what the error is. So thank you very much. See you on Wednesday, 8:30. Is it 8:30? Yeah, 8:30 what?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Okay, sir.